So how important is self-worth and self-esteem to an artist's career, and how can you change that to change the trajectory of your career forever? Hi, I'm Daxton Page, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to, as an artist or musician, increase your wealth by increasing your worth. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean by that, Dax? Well, here's the thing. There is a term out there in the business world that is a very real thing, and artists struggle with this. Now, when I say artists, I mean independent artists that are starting out. They have been at it for 10 years maybe, but they just haven't broken through to that next level, right? A lot of artists struggle with this one phrase in business: perceived value. Now, what is perceived value? Perceived value is the value that the fan has about you or your brand, okay? Now, that perception is exactly that. It's a perception. And you may be thinking, well, Dax, how can I get fans to view me with more worth than they view me now and would be willing to spend more money to help support my music business as a consequence? And what I want to let you know is that a lot of that comes down to not just their perceived value of you, but your perceived value of yourself. This is what I see with my one-on-one clients that pay me thousands of dollars. We get in the trenches and we start going at it, and what do we find out? One of the biggest struggles is our self-worth and our mindset. And it's kind of one of the things that shocked me the most becoming a music business coach. Is one of the things I figured most musicians would struggle with is the tactics and how to implement all the information that we talk about and how to do it right. Now, there are some artists that need some help in that regard, but a lot of artists struggle with stuff that's up here. And our perceptions about ourselves up in here reflect our music business. So here's what I mean by that. If you're out there in the music business and you have a low perception of value of you as an artist, good luck trying to get people to view more value in you than you value in yourself. It's probably not going to happen. I'm just going to let you know right now, because if you don't have a sense of high self-worth, it's going to be very difficult for you to level up financially as an artist, because a lot of artists are stuck in this starving artist mindset, and we need to break past that. We need to break out of that, because it's the chains that have held musicians captive for years, the psychological chains. People talk about labels, and I'm one of those people, and how they're predatory to the music business and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that we don't talk about enough is the self-sabotage that happens inside the minds of independent and small artists every single day. Now, how do we increase our self-worth? Well, one of the things that I recommend is we actually figure out what is the unique value that we provide. For every single person, it's a little bit different. Every single person has their own unique value that they bring to the table and to the marketplace. Every single artist has their thing. What is your thing? For some, let's just I'm going to brainstorm a few examples, and you're going to start going, oh, I fall in this category. I fall in this category. So I have clients who are very technical at what they do. For instance, I have some composers who are also producers. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So you have two great skill sets. You have the skill set of being able to compose and orchestrate music, because they're classical composers, but then they have the skill set to produce other people's music. I'm like, okay, right there, I can already see an increase in value right there, because you're not just an artist, you're an artist and a producer in that example. I have some artists that are great teachers. So not only are they great artists, but they're great teachers as well. Instantly, I can see economic value in that. And so a lot of people just need to figure out, they need to sit down and think, what are my unique skill sets? Some of y'all have crazy great skill sets that are super valuable in the marketplace, but you've just never figured out how to introduce that stuff. So what I did with some of my clients is I looked at, okay, you have these bonus skills. For you, you can produce. How do we create something that can give people a way to access that side of you? So not only can they get into you from your music and they start buying your sheet music and they're all into your pieces, but then you can offer, hey, if you'd like me to produce your song, here's another offer. And boom, by utilizing a skill set that you already have and that you're very proficient in, you can confidently step forward and say, I also provide this. Now, that's a real-world practical plan to increase your actual value, your actual worth as far as net worth. But what about up here? I know a lot of people, they struggle with beliefs, limiting beliefs, and confidence as to how they're going to do these things or if they're worthy of their goals. And that is where a lot of the problem lies. I want to tell you a really quick story. When I was a little kid, how many of y'all remember AR points? Anybody out there in the United States public school system have to go through AR points? AR stands for Accelerated Reader. And what these, for those of you that don't know, what that was is a test that you would take. You'd go read a book in the library, you'd go take an AR test, and it would quiz you about the book, and depending on how good you did on the quiz, you would get points. Okay, well, as a kid, obviously, I'm an adult male. Now, males, naturally, now there's exceptions, obviously, but by and large, by an average, men are wired for information, nonfiction. So a lot of dudes do really well reading nonfiction books. And that was me. I was reading books about the weather. I was reading books about sharks and other animals in the sea. I was like, that was where my head was at as a kid. But one thing I noticed, which kind of irritated me, was that the nonfiction books didn't have as many AR points as a fiction book did. But for me, I could never figure out a logical reason to care about these fiction stories. I could logically figure out a reason why I cared about, earthquakes and tornadoes and stuff like that. I may actually have to deal with that one day. I'm not going to have to deal with this fantasy warlord magical kingdom in this fantasy book. There's nothing wrong with nonfictions, by the way. I'm not knocking nonfiction. I'm just saying for me personally, it wasn't interesting to me as a kid. But what happened? Why am I telling you all this? Because teachers told my parents, and my parents told me that, listen, Dax, you're not getting enough AR points. You're kind of falling behind your classmates, and your teachers and counselors are really concerned, that you're not as good of a reader as you could be. You're a grade behind in your reading. And I'm like, this is weird, man, because I can read just fine. I know what these words mean. I can read them out loud. Like, I can read just fine. They're like, yeah, but you're not comprehending everything. And I go, that's fair. Have you ever considered that I just don't care? I mean, come on. But I wasn't thinking that confidently as a kid. As a kid, when your parents come up to you, and your teachers come up to you, and your counselors come up to you, and your principals come up to you, and they tell you, you have a limitation. You have this limiting factor. You're not a good reader, Dax. Okay, well, here's where that's wrong as hell. I went through my whole life believing, I'm just not a reader, man. I'm just not a reading. So anytime a challenge was presented to me to read something, I instantly approached it with one foot out the door because I had this limiting belief. I had this limiting belief that I'm not a reader, right? Because that's what my teachers told me, my counselors, my parents, everybody was telling me that. So I just adopted the belief and the identity, more like the lie identity, that I'm not a reader. And therefore that crippled me through the rest of my educational experience. Absolutely crippled me, because anytime I was presented with a reading challenge, my brain would say, you're not actually good at this anyway. Why are you even trying? This isn't your natural mode of expertise. You're not a good reader. Stop this. This is stupid. Just fill in some whatever and just get past it. That's what would happen in my brain because of the limiting beliefs that were programmed into me by people that just didn't understand me. Now, how many artists out there, how many of you can feel that similar feeling of people told you, or you maybe heard from different sources of information, articles online, right? Enough people programmed a belief in you about the music business, about becoming successful as an artist, about being financially independent and secure as an artist. How many beliefs did people program into us from a young age all the way up till now about why we shouldn't do this? I even have clients with me that are like, man, this is a huge, drain on my resources being a musician. I'm like, yeah, dude. Any small business, whether it's the music business or not, the startup phase is basically dumping a whole bunch of money into something. You know, we don't expect to see a return on that investment for quite some time if you're a practical thinking artist. We look at that situation as like, listen, I'm investing in my future. Because if I honestly believe this is something I want to do and I can do, and I am willing to commit the work to do, then I can do this. But here's the thing, a lot of us don't have that confidence and belief that we need to start taking the action. Because there's a great phrase that I actually got. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into a whole like diatribe here about it, but I actually learned something really cool from the Bible once. That was in Genesis, God basically said, in the context of the Bible, he says, be fruitful, have dominion, and do multiply. That's basically what he says. And then I'm like, okay. And I learned this from Myron Golden. It's like, be, do, have. That was the sequence of order. And I took that out of there and I was like, whoa, what a piece of wisdom there. Most people just want to have. I just want to have the fans. I just want to have the wealth. I just want to have. But they don't do the things, and they don't want to do the things necessary to have the things that they want. But here's the thing. How do you start doing the things that actually move the needle in your music business and get you closer to where you want to go? How do you start doing that? You have to become the person who will do what is necessary so that you can have what you desire. You cannot do and then have. A lot of people try to just do and have, and some people try to just shortcut straight to have and not do any of the do. But when you become the person, you start training yourself to become the person you want to become so that you can do what you need to do, so that you can have what you want to have. You will start to see growth in your life, not just in your music business, but in every single aspect of it. The only way to have a great relationship is to do the things necessary in your relationship to nurture it and water it like it's a garden, right? But you have to be the person who's willing to plant the seed in the garden and water it in order to have the harvest, right? That's how life works. It doesn't matter if it's relationships, it doesn't matter if it's money, anything. You have to be the person who can do the thing so that you can have the thing that the person who does it can do it, right? So I know that was a whole bunch of be, do's, and haves, but hopefully you guys understand the concept of it starts with us. We have to challenge our limiting beliefs. If I would have sat around and said, I'm not a reader for the rest of my life, do you have any idea how many thousands of dollars I would have never got? I can tell you with 100% accuracy that thousands of dollars of my income are directly a result of my love for books. And how did that love for books come about, Dax? How did you change the belief that was programmed into you since you were in first grade all the way through high school? That's basically 12, 11 years of indoctrination. How did you break out of that? One day, I had a crazy thought. I had a crazy impulse. I was just driving. I was kind of acting impulsively a little bit. And I was driven. You know what? I'm just going to go to the Barnes & Noble store and I'm just going to buy a book. But I'm going to buy a book that I want to read. I'm going to buy a book that is genuinely interesting to me. And let's see if I can read this thing. I've been told my whole life I'm not a reader. You know what? I'm outside of that toxic environment. Let's just put that to the test. So I went into Barnes & Nobles and I walked around for 3 hours trying to find what is the perfect book? What is the book that I'm going to go home, I'm going to read every page in this book? Well, I ended up finding it. It was a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And that book, it was funny, I bought a used version of it that was there, and it looked like it was from the 80s, and it's hilarious looking. His hair is like super stiff from all the hairspray. He's got this giant smile. Anyway, I love Tony Robbins, by the way, if you can't tell, but it's just hilarious looking. And I open this book up, and I start reading through it, and I notice, hey, Dax, I think you're reading this just fine. Well, Dax, did you comprehend what he said? Yeah, I understand exactly what he said. And it clicked for me that I was like, oh my gosh, that was a false belief that someone implanted in me. And I was mad. But it was like, not mad like I'm gonna go punch holes in the wall kind of mad. It was like an indignation on a system that had implanted a belief in me that served against me. And then I thought about how many other people went through this system and got implanted with beliefs that are counter to their spirit and are counter to who they actually are. And that, now I'm real mad. And so what happens? That's when I started the Money Smart Musician movement. Is I was like, because I started reading and I started learning about psychology, finance, sales, marketing, business, taxes. I was just like, now that I know that belief is gone, it's some faulty crap belief, I can read whatever I want and I can absorb the knowledge of anything I want. And I want you to just imagine that for a second. If you knew for certain that what you were going to go and seek and learn, you would internalize and implement into your life, what would you go learn? Would you go learn how to fish? Would you go learn how to make more money? Would you learn how to pray better? Would you learn how to have a better relationship? Would you learn how to have more friends? What would you learn? If you knew you wouldn't fail, if you knew you could do it. Well, that's what happened. And that exploded this activity for me where I went and bought like 270 books in a matter of a couple years' time and was just absorbing knowledge like crazy. And that alone was able to take my worth to the next level because I, not just financially, but like who I was as a person grew from that day because I was therefore able to look forward and say, how many other false beliefs do I have about myself? And I look back and I go, there's a whole lot of them. I look back and I'm like, oh, you can't be a business person and a creative at the same time. So money and music just don't go together. You know, I would create these false beliefs. And then once I started challenging them, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the ultimate challenge to this. I'm a 23, 21-year-old, I can't remember exactly what age, and I'm like, you know what? I've been learning this stuff. I'm going to go dive into something that's completely like unrelated to music. It's a total money-making activity. And I was like, I'm going to prove that artists can do this. Even someone who's like a C student like me, they can go out and do this. So I went out and I bought 2 real estate properties and I flipped them. And I made 5 figures doing it. Made about 20 grand doing it. And that was when I was like, okay, that's it. We're telling the world, we're breaking the walls down for artists. We're breaking down all the beliefs if we can, because we've got to show them what potential is at their feet that is being unutilized. And so, if you're struggling with your worth and your self-worth as an artist, one of the things that you have to do is challenge your beliefs. You have beliefs that are holding you back. Every single person does. I had them, you have them, everyone's got them. We've got to analyze those things and we got to put them to the test. And not just put them to the test like, yeah, I know, like for instance, me trying, such a terrible word, trying, I tried. If I was to try to go read, here's what it would have looked like. Yeah, I know people say I'm terrible at reading and I got all these bad grades in reading, but I guess I can try open up a book. I can't promise anything though. And then I open up to page 1 and I go, oh, please, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm just sitting there over catastrophizing every step. And then 3 pages in, I've sufficiently beaten myself up enough to quit. That's not trying. That is like that's attempting something with the intent to fail. I don't recognize that activity. What we should be looking at is like, okay, if I'm going to challenge a belief, I'm going to have to adopt a new belief. I'm going to have to change who I am in a belief sense and just act in accordance with this change. For me, I went from the radical change of I'm not a reader, when it comes to reading, I'm basically stupid, blah, 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 into I'm a super reader. I can read as many books as I want. I can retain all the information I want, and I can learn about whatever I want to learn. There's no limit to this. It's a radical shift. And I'll be honest with you, Does it involve a tiny bit of delusion? A little bit. Because here's the thing. I can't learn anything. I can learn anything. I have the ability to learn anything. That's a belief that I hold. Does it mean that I should learn everything, or everything that I'm going to pursue to learn is going to be valuable to me? No. At one point I was like, let's just keep pushing it where we can push it. And at one point I was like, I'm going to take a chemistry course from the University of Japan. I think it was Kyoto or something like that. University of Kyoto. And I found out very quickly, okay, this area of knowledge is not for me. I could learn it if I wanted to, but I can tell that's just not for me, right? Chemistry is very hard. I had a bad grade in school with chemistry, and that one I found out was not just based on conditioning. I just wasn't good at chemistry. So I found out very quickly, okay, that doesn't work. But other things, when it came to business, finance, sales, insurance, financial literacy, whatever, it's like, yeah, I can get that. And that's another thing too. It's like our belief about what is valuable and our belief about opportunity cost. That's a huge thing. It's like, if I invest my time in this, what is the return I'm going to get as a result? And I don't want to go too down that rabbit hole because I want to keep it on self-worth today, but the whole idea is to challenge your beliefs. And then the next thing that we're going to kind of move into is like, okay, Dax, I'm starting to get some self-worth. I've got a unique value that I've identified. I've got a bunch of unique value actually, but I do have these beliefs that are holding me back. So how do I challenge that? Okay, let me challenge those beliefs. Okay, I'm challenging the beliefs and I'm making progress. I'm moving forward. What do I do now? I recommend taking a look at your image, right? Think about it like this. A lot of people look at their image in the beginning, and that's why they have a low self-worth to begin with. It's because they're looking at everything image-wise and who they are as a person while they're in a state of being a person that's not going to be the type of person to move them forward. So they're focusing on their image before they've done the work of be, do, have, right? They haven't become the person yet who's going to see value in their image. But they're at that point and they're trying to look at image before they've become that person. And so they're jumping the gun and making all these assumptions like, I'm ugly, I don't look good in this, and blah, blah, blah. They're making all these assumptions when they were in a state of mind that was not their true authentic self. But then once you go through the work and you go through and you challenge your beliefs, you come out on the other side and now you can go, okay, I've challenged those beliefs. Now how can I just like objectively enhance my image so that I feel better about myself? Think about this for a second. Notice I didn't say, go buy a whole bunch of fancy clothes, go buy a whole bunch of material things to make you look good in other people's eyes. It's not what I said. It's not what I'd recommend. I want you to go and find the stuff that makes you feel more valuable. Okay? So for example, I'll tell you guys a simple little shift that I made in my brand. You've probably noticed it, is I like to wear these fun sunglasses. I've got orange and blue and all these kind of different sunglasses. It's something that I enjoy. It's something I like to wear. And it's something that when I wear, it makes me feel more confident. Not in a, yeah, other people are going to think I look so cool. I could care less about what other people think about my sunglasses. I'm sure I'm going to hear about them in the comments. But what I care about is what I feel whenever I wear the sunglasses. Some of y'all are out there like, man, I've got this clothing item or this piece of accessories or whatever. If I wore it, it would make me feel more confident and like the person I want to be, but I don't want other people to think X, Y, and Z about me. See, that's the kind of stuff that's holding us back, is we're looking at other people and having them dictate our image and what makes our image valuable to us, as opposed to us doing that work and deciding what makes us feel more valuable and pursuing those type of things. So for some people, sure, luxury items may make them feel more valuable, but it doesn't always have to be that. It could be a simple way that you present yourself. Like maybe, here's the thing, as you notice, I'm a rock musician, but I don't like paint my fingernails black or anything, but maybe you're a musician that would feel more confident and in line with who they are as a person if you had black fingernails. I don't know. It's a real simple thing you could do that could all of a sudden make you feel more in line with who you truly are as your authentic self. And that is going to enhance your perception. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of our low perception of value comes from the judgment we made about ourselves that other people gave us. I need you to really think. I think I said that too fast. I think that was a little too complicated. Let me say it again in a way easier way of thinking about it. You believe what other people say about you, and then you adopt that as your worth, and that is what's holding you back. It's because when I was a kid and you were a kid and we all were kids, people were indoctrinating and programming beliefs into us. Some were positive, and we want to keep those, but a lot of them are negative. And they impose limitations on us. And we believe the limitations. So the limitations, all of a sudden now when we go out in life, we approach life like this, and then we expect us to feel worth when we've adopted this identity that isn't even our identity. So a lot of our feeling of lack of self-worth is because we're not fully living the identity that we want to live. And so taking steps in that direction is going to just by a natural byproduct increase your worth. When you start to envision who you want to ultimately become, remember the be, do, have, ultimately visualize who you want to become. What does that look like? Who does that person look like? And how can we start to take step-by-step increments to get to that place? So for me, I sat around. I went into ChatGPT and did some brainstorming. I sat around and I thought, what do I want to look like? What do I want to look like that would make me feel confident because it's what I think would make me feel valuable, as opposed to what other people, people go buy the Rolls Royce or the Rolex or whatever, and they're like, that's going to make other people think I'm so cool. No, do not do that. Think about what's something that if I presented myself it would just make me feel more valuable, just to myself. Even if it was I wear aviators now. I know a lot of people talk crap on aviators. That's why I say it. Is maybe aviators are gonna make you feel more who you want to be like, and ultimately who you see yourself as. And then when you become that person, do what that person does, and have what that kind of person who does that kind of activity gets. Then you can wear the aviators, and when people are like, hey, he wears aviators, he's like, yeah, but I'm getting what I want. I'm getting the results that I'm striving for. And so you can laugh all you want because I'm fulfilling and actualizing my identity, right? So I hope so far, I know we've been digging down deep into personality today, but we're really hopefully making a lot of progress here. So the last couple things I want to talk about when it comes to your self-image is your goals, okay? Because ultimately, the goals that you set identify who you are. I can tell by the way people set their intention what the ultimate thing that they're going after is there. So if someone says, yeah, my goal is to eventually, let's say, I want to make $100 in a year from my music. Okay. That's okay. That's a fine place to start. But doesn't that seem like we're setting our sights a little low? $100 in a year. If you do a gig, even if you don't get paid to do the gig, you can make more than $100 from merch, even if you just have stickers and wristbands. Let's shoot our sights a little bit higher. So based on how low those bars were set, you can start to tell that person's mindset about who they are and their value is very low. But if I have someone that says, someone comes up to me and says, yeah, dude, I would love it if I could make $10,000 a month. That'd be great. I'm like, how soon? Oh, next couple months. Now you're valuing yourself too high, right? 6 months, $10,000 a month when you're making $0 a month from your music is a little bit unrealistic. I hate to break it to some of y'all out there, but shooting too low is not the goal either. Oh, I hope I make $50 this year, $100 this year for my music. I'm like, what about $100 a month? It's $1,200 a year. Okay, that sounds, yeah, okay, that'll get you to smile a little bit more. You look at your tax bill at the end of the year and you're like, how much money did I earn from streaming this year? And you're like, $100. cool, man. That's not going to put a smile on your face. No, come on. A goal is supposed to put a smile on your face. So now if you get to the end of the year and you look at your tax statement, you look at all that and you see, I made $1,200 from my music this year. Come on, you're going to crack a little grin, aren't you? You're gonna get a little happy about that. You're going to be like, yeah, I did. You know what I'm saying? That's a goal. A goal is something that when you get to the end and you accomplish that, you're going to be grinning. As we say in the South, you're going to be grinning. So make sure that your goals kind of meet two criteria. They're reasonable. What is a reasonable goal, Dax? Visualize your goals like a ladder. Imagine you're trying to climb the ladder of success. What's the easiest next rung in the ladder that you can grab so that you can pull yourself up to the next one? But if your first goal, the rung is like 100 feet above you, $10,000 a month for that example, right? It's like, it's so far, you're like, I can't even hardly reach this. You know, of course you can't, because that's not good goal setting, right? So reasonable means that it's a rung in the ladder that you could easily grasp. So maybe you start out like, I want to make $50 in 1 month from my music and music related activities. Okay, I've reached that goal. Cool. Now let's do 100. Now let's do 200. Let's do 300. Let's do 400. Guys, I'm telling you, you can have months where you have $10,000 worth of income for your music in a month, but it's a system that you learn and you build and you refine over time, right? No one just like walks out of their door one day and just makes 10 grand a month. You have to have the strategies and be the person who will do the work so that you can get that result. But if you start from, okay, I have a goal, I can get this. Okay, I can get this. I can get this. I can get this. How fast are you going to go up that ladder? You're going to go up that ladder a hell of a lot faster than the person who's like, I can't even reach the first rung. I'll get there in 10 years, maybe. Right? But they'll have no way of tracking their progress because like the first rung in their set of goals is so far away that they can't even visualize what it's like to accomplish that. So the goal has to be reasonable, but it's got to make you smile. When you get to the end of it, you got to be like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like one day, I had the goal. I want to make $100 from merch in a single show. Okay, we did that. You know, sell 3 shirts and a CD or 2, or stickers or 2. You did it. Woo! I'm like, okay, cool. We did that. What about $200 in a single show? And then we broke the $200 mark, and I was like, okay, what about $1,000? Then one day we broke the $1,000 mark. But like, I wouldn't have ever got to the $1,000 goal if I didn't become the person who could get 200 in a single show, or could become the person who could get 500 or 750 in a single show. I had to become the person and set goals from that position. Okay, so hopefully that's the big picture thing you take away from this goals section, is when you're creating your goals, create them from the state of mind of the person you want to be, not the person that you have, not the lie identity that society has said you are. Step into the my identity, the your identity. Step into that identity that is truly and authentically you, and then set goals from that state of mind. Don't set them from the limiting belief, false confidence mindset, right? We need to set it from, okay, I'm going to become the person who can do this, and as a result, I will reach this goal, right? That is our way that we want to think about this, okay? So lastly, we got to monetize. We got to turn our worth here into worth financially speaking. So how do we do that? This is what I'm talking about. In the very beginning, we've kind of come full circle. Now that the fans are looking at somebody who isn't dealing with self-worth issues, now you can start to get into a position where not only do you have internal self-worth that has been revolutionized and created, but now you can start creating that same certainty and belief about your brand in your fans with confidence, as opposed to not being the type of person, because here's the tricky thing. If you were in that lie identity, that false identity, and tried to execute your real goals, you would feel like an imposter. Wouldn't you? Because you're not that person. And that's what your brain is telling you. You're not that person. Just like when I started reading books for the first time since school, my brain was like, you're not a reader. You're not that type of person. But what happened? I pushed through those beliefs and I found on the other side, it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So now that we're in this position where we could start to create that certainty of who our authentic identity is, now when we present ourselves, you're carrying yourself with confidence. And people recognize that. When someone walks into a room and they've got their shoulders back and they've got good posture, people notice that because most people walk in with bad posture. They walk in like this and they walk in kind of sad and slumped over. Where you walk in confident and tall and you stand out, right? People just, you don't have to say anything. People are just like, something about that person. It's like attracted, they're like a magnet or something, What is that from? That person knows their self-worth and they don't question it, and it's not determined by the audience. You present your self-worth and then the audience takes it in as you present it. Like if you're you come out there with this identity, but you have to become the person, right? You come out there and you're like, I am truly the person who's going to do the thing. Then when you go out and do the thing, you won't feel imposter syndrome. But if you're still stuck in the false identity that society gave you, and you start taking action on your real goals that will help you get better in life, you're going to feel like an imposter. You're going to feel like, oh, this isn't for me. But that's not because it's not. That's not because this isn't for you. That's not because this isn't made for you. That's because there's a belief in there. There's a devil on the shoulder that's trying to tell you what you can't do. And guess what? Somebody put that thing there. That's not even from you. It's you now, but it wasn't you to begin with. It was somebody else who, implanted that seed into our mind. So now we have to rip the seed out, put a new seed there, and let it start to flourish and bloom and grow. And we got to water. We got to treat that seed like the person we're trying to become, and water that, right? It's a seed ready to go, but if we don't water it, we just sit around and say, I'm going to become the type of person that does yeah, but then you don't take any action. That's like putting the seed in the ground, not putting any water on it, and expecting a plant and a beautiful tree to grow. It's not going to happen. But if you put that seed in the ground and you take care of it, you water it, you nurture it, I guarantee you what's going to happen is that is going to start to crack the seed, and it's going to start to plant and bloom into something very beautiful. But it's never going to happen unless we start to change our view on our self-worth. And once we change our self-worth, our audience is going to look at us differently. And so now, when you come up to somebody and you say, or they come up to you actually, and they say, how much are t-shirts? And you say, they're $30. Notice I said, they're $30. I didn't go, they're $30? Do you see the difference between those two people? Right? The first person you can tell is like, I don't know if I should charge someone 30 for it's 30? Maybe possibly. And that person who you're selling to knows that if they're like, well, would you do it for 20? Yeah, sure, that's fine. If just don't ask for any less of money. That's what's going to happen, right? But if someone comes up there and, how much is your shirt? Yeah, they're 30. Oh, could you do them for less? I mean, I could do them for more. No, okay, I'll just take them for 30. Like, okay, cool. Like, notice I wasn't a douche about it. I wasn't like, how dare you? My shirts are the highest quality and deserve to be 30. No. Hey, how much are your shirts? Oh, they're 30. Ooh, can you do them for less? I could do them for more. And they're like, oh, no, okay, 30's fine. 30's fine. Okay, cool. Oh, that'd be cash or card. Oh, card, cool. Right? If you want to get more value from your things that you sell your audience, you got to have that belief in the value of the thing, right? But if we don't have any value in our own self-worth, how are we going to project value into something else when we don't even have any value that we're holding for ourselves within us? Okay? So you really want to monetize now with this new self-worth? You want to turn your worth into wealth? Now you take this new mindset, this true you, the true identity, not the lie identity that you grew up with. You take this true identity and you go out and you start to do the things that that person would do, and you adopt the beliefs that that kind of person would adopt. For instance, if the type of person you want to be is someone who could withstand the storm of any music business up and down, then you've got to start training yourself with the beliefs that when something goes wrong, I can handle it. I can figure out a solution. I am bigger than my problems. I am a creative mind. Put it this way. My problems don't have a brain, and I do. I think I've got the leg up. I think I'm going to be okay. What? It's like, yeah, dude, when I'm on the road and the van breaks down, I know I can fix this solution. Why? Because the van ain't got no brain. As we say in the South, it ain't got none. The van ain't got no brain, but I do. So I think I'm going to be all right. We're going to figure something out, right? If you start adopting the beliefs of the type of person that you want to become, now you're going to start to take action like the person you want to become, and you are going to transform into who you want to become. But if we don't start from B, we'll never do, and we'll never have, okay? So if you want to turn your worth into wealth, it starts on the inside, but then once we go to the outside, you'll notice it's not necessarily like this brand new thing. You'll just notice that it's like, when I sell, I'm more confident because I have value in it, what it is that I provide. I don't have a false belief that, music isn't valuable anymore and no one's gonna like my genre. Nobody likes insert genre anymore. I hear this all the time from genres that still have millions and millions and millions of listeners. It's like there's all these false beliefs that we need to get rid of. And I hope that today you will make a decision to say, I'm not gonna live this lie identity anymore. I'm gonna step into my identity, and I'm gonna step into my purpose, and I'm gonna start to become the person who can do the things required to have the things that I ultimately want to have in life. I want to be a great husband. Well, I want to become the type of person, I want to become the type of husband that will do the things necessary to have a great relationship, right? If I want to become wealthy, I need to become the person who's going to do the activities that will generate the wealth, right? And so hopefully today you will decide to become the person who will do the things necessary to have what you want to have. And by doing that, you will turn your worth up 10x. You will turn your worth into wealth. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got a ton of value from it. So please do me a favor, if you had a breakthrough or any kind of awesome experience on this video, give it a like, shoot me a comment. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this whole thing. Also hit the subscribe button. It greatly helps out the channel. And if you'd like some one-on-one help with your music business, you fill out an application. We can see if it's a good fit to help you out with your music business. So if that's something you're interested in, just click the link in the bio. So thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you guys on another Musicians Ignite.